All right, so I want to walk you through something I've been digging into for a while now, a discovery I made that's hidden deep inside one of the Bible's oldest prophecies. It's just a single verse, and honestly, at first, it just looks like a simple wish. But the deeper I went, the more I realized it's actually a coded message, a kind of prophetic blueprint that I believe unfolds over thousands of years.
So this is it. This is the verse. These words were spoken thousands of years ago by a man named Lemech, the moment his son was born. And that son was Noah. Lamech was hoping for rest, right? An end to the struggle, the hard work on cursed ground. But as I kept reading that word rest, I just felt there has to be something more going on here. A much, much deeper meaning.
And that's really the big question, isn't it? Was this just a tired father hoping for an easier life for his kid? Or was Lemech seeing something else, tapping into something way more significant? I'm convinced it was the latter. This wasn't just a hope. It was a detailed prophecy about where all of human history was headed. Now, to really unlock this whole thing, we have to look at it through a special lens. It's called typology. And don't worry, it's simpler than it sounds. Think of it like God embedding patterns, people, events, even numbers, into the Old Testament that act like foreshadowing, like a trailer for a movie that won't come out for another 1,000 years.
So let's start with the first clue in this pattern, because Lamech wasn't just guessing. It looks like he was actually observing a divine pattern that was unfolding through the generations, right in front of his own eyes, and he knew something huge was about to happen. So what was he seeing? Well, two big things. First, he knew all about his great-grandfather Enoch. Now, Enoch was the 7th generation from Adam. And get this, he never died. The Bible says God just took him. We might call that a rapture today. That's clue number 1. Clue number 2 is the number 10. Lamech understood that 10 meant completion, an end of a cycle. And his son Noah, he was the 10th generation. Lamech put those two things together and believed his son's generation was going to mark a final, definitive end to that age.
Okay, this is where the code gets really, really interesting, because I believe the key to this whole prophecy is actually hidden in the numbers of Lamech's own life. It's like his lifespan tells a story, a journey from total imperfection to absolute perfection.
So let's start with this number, 666. We all know this one, right? It's pretty much universally tied to fallen humanity, to imperfection. And here's a fascinating way to think about why. The idea is that we were created as a 3-part being, body, soul, and spirit. But after the fall in the garden, humanity lost that direct spirit connection to God. We lost a third of our original design. We became 2/3 of a whole, or symbolically, 66.6% of our complete selves. Incomplete. But here's the twist. This is what just floored me. Lamech's life doesn't end on that note of imperfection. The scriptures tell us he lived for exactly 777 years. And that contrast is everything. You see, if 6 is the number of imperfect, fallen man, 7 is God's number. It's divine perfection, it's completeness. So Lamech's life itself becomes this incredible symbolic roadmap, a journey from the state of fallen man, 666, all the way to the ultimate perfection found in God, represented by 777.
Okay, so we've got a symbolic journey, but what if it's more than just a symbol? What if it's pointing to a very specific timeline? This is where we get into the calculation that I think connects Lamech's life directly to our time. So I found 2 key numbers in his story. The first one, Lamech lived for 595 years after Noah was born. You can think of that as a picture of the church walking with the son of promise. The second number, Noah's generation. He was the 10th generation, that number of completion. So what happens when you multiply those 2 figures together?
Well, 595 times 10 gives you this number, 5950. Now, at first, that might not seem to mean much, but when you place it on certain ancient calendar timelines, suddenly that number becomes incredibly significant.
So, according to one really fascinating interpretation of the ancient Essene calendar, humanity has just recently entered this exact year, the year 5950. In this specific timeline, this year kicks off the final 50-year Jubilee period, a countdown that culminates in the year 6000. And here it is. This is the core of the whole thing. Remember Lamech? He died 5 years before the flood ever started. He was removed before the judgment came. The typology here, the pattern, suggests that just like Lamech was gone before the flood, the church, the body of believers, will be taken away in this very year, 5950, right before that final period unfolds. But there was one final piece of the puzzle that, for me, just locked everything into place. It's a confirmation, but it's not hidden in a number. It's hidden in the ancient meaning of Lamech's name itself.
And this is just stunning. His name isn't just a name. In Paleo-Hebrew, it's a whole sentence. It's a picture of protection. It means the one who is led through the waters being covered in the palm of the hands.
And just think about how perfectly that image describes the great salvation stories. You've got Noah's Ark, which is basically a vessel shaped like cupped hands, carrying life safely through the floodwaters. You have the Exodus, where God's people are led through the parted waters of the sea. And ultimately, you have the church, which is described as being held securely in the palm of Jesus Christ's hands. Lamech's name, his life, his prophecy, the numbers, it all comes together to point to this one powerful idea: a final, triumphant deliverance, a greater exodus, where believers are led right through the chaotic waters of this world and into something totally new. So it all brings us to this one really profound question. If an ancient patriarch from the dawn of time truly encoded this complex prophecy about a final deliverance into his son's name and his own lifespan and a simple declaration of hope, what does it signify for us, right now, that the timeline he seems to have pinpointed has just begun? It's a profound thought, and it definitely makes you reconsider the times we're living in.